The music industry has seen many iconic figures, but few duos have captured hearts like the phenomenal Hall and Oates. With legendary hits like The Rich Girl or Sarah Smile, the pair had the world dancing in the 1970s, and they reached heights that musicians could only dream of. Yet behind all this, a heartbreaking story would be taking shape. Soon they would have the musical world mourning this harmonious duo when their relationship began to crumble into one of the most bitter betrayals that shattered their band and bond. It was a dramatic fall from fame for the Hall Oates brand. Soon Daryl Hall, the creative force behind the duo, now would claim that John Oates was responsible for breaking up their band. Some would argue that the two had a perfect, story-like beginning. In 1967, at Temple University in Philadelphia, the two crossed paths and hit it off with their mutual love for pop, soul, and rock music a natural fit. Their meeting at a Battle of the Bands type event in their university is very fitting for it would launch one of the greatest musical partnerships of all time. Hall, with his smooth vocals, was the creative leader, while Oates, with his guitar and business mind, complemented the duo perfectly. These traits would, however, prove to be the reason for their rift. Hall and Oates weren't just partners, they were two sides of the same coin, moving in perfect sync to create music that the world couldn't get enough of. The duo struggled for some time, though, to find the perfect sound for them. It wasn't until the release of their self-titled album in 1975 did they started to gain attention. Through the 1970s and 80s, their fame skyrocketed and the duo became a powerhouse. They delivered chart-topping hits one after another, creating a sound that was uniquely theirs. It was a perfect blend of soul, rock, and pop that was both infectious and timeless. Something, however, was brewing underneath this fame, and as time passed, more cracks started to form. This fame came with quite a price for Daryl Hall, an impossible weight that grew with every single hit. They were at the top, but for Hall, success was turning into a gilded cage. Between the Hall and Oates came a creative difference. Hall was looking for something new and innovation, while Oates seemed content with maintaining the status quo. As the hits kept coming, Hall's frustration grew. He felt trapped within the Hall Oates brand, a brand that was rapidly becoming larger than the individuals themselves. Oates was content with using the same pop formula that the duo had practiced and polished to perfection. It wasn't what the creative Hall wanted, though. He wanted to push boundaries and try newer styles, which led him, eventually, to feel suffocated in the seemingly perfect duo. Some might even say that Hall's resentment for Oates started stemming from this time around. Eventually, Hall began exploring new projects, hinting at the growing tension. His solo work was a breath of fresh air, allowing him to explore sounds and themes that were far removed from the Hall Oates catalog. But this newfound freedom only served to highlight the growing divide between him and Oates. For Hall, his solo projects were a necessary escape, a way to reclaim his artistic identity. He sought creative independence while Oates remained focused on maintaining the Hall Oates brand. In Hall's eyes, Oates' priorities had shifted. He was no longer the partner who shared his vision, but a businessman more concerned with keeping the machine running. This realization only deepened the rift between them. Hall has often reflected on this period with a sense of betrayal. What was once a partnership based on mutual respect and shared goals now felt like a one-sided relationship, with Oates more concerned about preserving the past and looking toward the future. Hall was the creative genius of the team, leading the team onward. Meanwhile, the business-minded Oates took on the passive role. The real thing happened when Hall recommended a necessary break, some time apart, to grow, reflect, and reunite stronger, but time would prove that Oates had other plans. In a recent interview, Hall points to the actual moment their partnership shattered. He would go on to say that while he was misguided about their team, thinking that they were on the same page, John was making decisions behind his back, planning tours and projects without even consulting him. He calls it a plain and simple betrayal. Hall even states that was the moment he painfully realized Oates wasn't invested in their partnership, not as he was. This wasn't just about music, however. It was about trust. He believed that they were both equals, and despite their creative differences, they were a team, but as it would appear, Oates had put his own interests over their friendship and legacy. For Hall, every decision Oates made behind his back felt like a dagger cutting through their history, turning what once was mutual trust into a deep wound. There was no going back from this. Not the way it was before. This betrayal, Hall and Oates took irreparable damage. They performed together, but their partnership was no longer what it was. The connection that they shared had resentfully and quickly turned into just a business arrangement. In interviews, Hall was quite open about his bitterness, describing their current relationship as just partners. After all, Oates had just tried to make a huge decision on his own, selling his shares of their joint company to Primary Wave Music. This was an act of betrayal that threatened to dismantle the very foundation they had built together, which led to Hall filing a lawsuit against his partner. He obtained a temporary restraining order, successfully halting the sale until the matter was settled through arbitration. In a recent interview, Oates stated that he was surprised that they even lasted as long as they did, basically saying that he had thought of ending the partnership a long time ago. In his defense, Oates says that Hall has been adamant about being perceived as an individual rather than part of a duo, and that he must act with truthfulness and make decisions that are right for his and his family's future. He also chooses to focus on the positive aspects of their relationship. He also added that after 50 years, people grow apart, and that their creative problems could be negotiated and navigated, but that business things were different, as is evident. In 2020, before this betrayal, Hall said that he was working on an album for the duo, but as fate would happen, the album wouldn't see life. While Oates maintains respect for the work that they created, he also has no plans to perform with Hall again, according to an interview with People, instead choosing to focus on his solo career. Hall uses quite strong words to describe the whole affair. He says that he was deeply disturbed by this act of Oates and, consequently, the deterioration of their relationship. He even calls this act bad faith that caused tremendous upheaval, harm, and difficulty in his life, not to mention unnecessary expense and burden. He even claims that the whole thing had been timed by Oates to come during a bad time because Hall was just about to head to tour. For Hall, this is more about the principle, as he is against and doesn't believe in companies buying publishing rights, as he stated in an interview back in 2021. For Hall, the very partnership that had been his absolute pride and joy had become a painful reminder of what he had lost. Hall reminisces of their tale as a cautionary reminder that even the strongest partnership can be torn apart by ambition, miscommunication, and the pressures of fame. He describes how their shared experiences changed from what once was a source of strength to a battleground for differing visions and aspirations. The very music that brought them together was now a backdrop for their divide. Despite the betrayal and the distance that has grown between them, Hall also acknowledges the importance of their shared history. How could he not, for the duo was legendary, making timeless hits that transcended their personal turmoil. Their songs to this day stay in the hearts of their adoring fans, reminding them of the joy that their band once brought to the world. Hall and Oates continue to perform even today, albeit separately in their own venture, with their songs remaining staples in playlists worldwide. Their music is still played worldwide while their fans revel in the nostalgia. There is no denying the iconic impact they made, and yet in the end, Hall Oates' story is not just about music, it's about trust, loyalty, and the devastating effects of betrayal. So, what do you think? Was Daryl Hall justified in feeling betrayed, or was John Oates simply making necessary decisions for their legacy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories behind the music.